Hello. Welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Slightly different format today. You may be noticing it already. Trying a couple different things. It seems like a good time to experiment. Last week's crispy audio was a result of a lot of audio processing to try and save the recording from poor audio. So between that and trying to get some other things looking better, we'll see how this works. Work in progress, and it evolves over time. As I record this, it is April the 1st, 2019. April the 1st in Western society is traditionally a day of jokes and pranks, of mirth and merriment if you are the kind of person who enjoys jokes and pranks. I was always the sensitive one in my family. I was the person that jokes and pranks were pulled on, and the person accused of having a bad sense of humor when instead of the anticipated laughter, they got shock, surprise, crying, and resentment. Go figure. They kept trying, and somehow it never got any better. I can't imagine what the problem was. As a result, I'm not that interested in pranks. If someone tells you that they're laughing with you and not at you, I appreciate the sentiment, but if you're not also laughing, then they have done something wrong. Not you, them. Today is one of the days that if you see something on the internet that looks too good to be true, you will research it and verify. Something that people should do every day, but today's the day that vigilance is kind of reawakened. There are some other things this day means to me. And this one in particular, for a couple of reasons. It is funny how time and events work. It's going to be a little bit of a personal episode. But it does involve my relationship to role-playing games in some very intimate ways. April the 1st, 1999 was the day I received a phone call from the mother of a friend of mine named Brian Sullivan. Brian was a brilliant game master, a tremendous role-playing game player. He could do things with role-playing systems that were just phenomenal. That, his good statistical skills, working out dice probabilities, Mecton, cyberpunk, combinations of the two. He may not always have had the best grasp on the player's ability to accomplish things, but the system's ability to accomplish things was something he always nailed down. The setting of Britannia, a high fantasy, high science fiction, magic and mecha, giant ships in space setting that I am going to eventually have to write the book for. That was Brian. That was his brainchild and the thing that he made live, and this glorious thing. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I was in the love camp, and it was mind-blowing how he made this amazing cinematic high fantasy science fiction world come to life. April 1st, 1999, I received a phone call from his mother that he'd passed away. I was the first one of his friends that she called. She needed someone who knew most of the other folks so they could help call around. And because I was one of the first people that she called about this, I was one of the first person who asked her the unfortunate question that has to get asked. On a day like that, when you get that news, please tell me, is this an April Fool's joke? It wasn't the kind of thing that Brian would do. I didn't know his mother that well. I didn't think so. It wasn't. It wasn't, but I had to ask. Because it was that day. That was the day that The Matrix made its cinematic debut. I called everyone. Everyone. The whole group. People who hadn't always shown up. People who were, occasional cameos. I called everyone. And I faced that question each and every time. Is this an April Fool's Day joke? Please tell me this is an April Fool's Day joke. It wasn't. Oh no. We gathered at my house. We went to have a meal together as a group. And then we went to see The Matrix. Brian would have loved it. It was full of things that he had talked about and images that he had given us. It couldn't have been a more fitting farewell, save that it would have been nice if he had been there. Two years later, to the day, April the 1st, 2001, found me and my wife in the large delivery room at Torrance Memorial with Anna in labor. It was not an easy delivery, but around 3 o'clock in the morning, they handed me my son, 8 pounds, 5 ounces, and asked me to cut the umbilical cord, which I did. Anna went to rest. She had an epidural after a while. We had to wait a little bit. We did the Bradley class. We did the Bradley class and Lamaze, so I'd had way more childbirthing information in my head than ever I should. But I by the Bradley method, you wait as long as possible for the epidural, doing it without the epidural if possible. But it wasn't progressing the way that it needed to. And Anna got to be in distress, and we went for the epidural, and it was exactly the amount of time that she needed. It could not have come, if we'd done it before, it would have worn off. For the delivery itself, it would have come after. She would have been disabled by it longer than she needed to be. It was just about perfect. She went to rest. Andrew went to the nursery. I went to celebratory lunch with my folks eventually. Came back. I was going to spend the night with the family, and the lunch was too rich and I was too nervous. And I was monstrously sick in the bathroom of the room that they gave us to share. And so Anna sent me home, and I could come back and pick them up in a day. If you are doing the math correctly, that is April the 1st, 2001. That is exactly 18 years ago. Oh, look, it's April the 1st again. In 2019, my son, 8 pounds, 5 ounces at delivery, who I cut the umbilical cord, welcomed him into the earth the moment he took his first breath. Turned 18 today. He is taller than I am. He is a certified welder. He graduates from high school in about, oh God, 2 months. And I am not ready. I'm not ready for these events to have been 18 years ago and 20 years ago, respectively. This is the 20th anniversary of the announcement of my friend Brian's passing. He passed the day before. 20th anniversary, 20 years. And my son turning 18 on this day. 5 days ago, 6 days ago, my wife and I celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. These are all amazing milestones to have in one's life, amazing points in the journey, benchmarks, things that you can use to measure your progress. At this point, where were you at? What did you accomplish here? What did you accomplish here? What have you done in the time since? How much experience have you gained? What level are you? I am level old. Yeah, I know. There are people who have been on this planet for more years than I have. There are a lot of people who've been on this planet for less. These are all things that tend to make a person feel on the older side. Brian Sullivan introduced me to concepts that I still try to capture in games. I have not come anywhere near delivering the level of elegance and simplicity, and yet beautiful complexity and verisimilitude of his designs. He wasn't a writer, unless it came to role-playing games. Most of his stuff was handwritten on I've got a couple of his notebooks. His mother was very kind. I've still got some of his dice. For his memorial service, we parted out his dice collection, and my wife and our friend Anna sewed a little black velvet dice bags for everyone who's going to be there. And there was just a bowl of them, and everyone who showed up to memorialize him got to leave with a little pouch of his luck. I still have those. Not in the little pouch. I still got the little pouch, but those dice went into my dice collection to mix in and to spread Brian's amazing luck. I've got things he wrote. I've got notes he made. Tons of mecha sheets from Mechton Zeta. In some ways, I have been able to tailor my abilities and my style to do a few more of the things that Brian could do, and in some ways, I'm never going to. I'm just going to have to go and make sure that my own style is rock solid, because there's only one Brian Sullivan. I got to spend a little while. There was a plan to memorialize him by publishing a Britannia book right after he passed. And some of the people who had enjoyed Britannia and some of the people who hadn't been involved but were friends of Brian got together, and we tried to play test a system to see if we could put that together. Brian's mom wanted to be part of that. She wasn't a role player before we started. She picked it up really, really fast. And that project did not work out. I put a couple of years into it, but like I said, you either love Britannia or you hate Britannia. And there were people on both camps in that system, and there were some impetus to try and change it so that it was more palatable to a larger market, but that would have stopped it from being Britannia. and then it wouldn't have been what Brian created. So that effort fizzled. But at Andrew's bridal, at the shower for Andrew's birth, not his bridal shower, at his baby shower, Brian's mom, who was there, thanked me for letting her walk around in the world that her son had created. And in my mind, that passed the baton. When I wrote the victory system, it was supposed to be able to do just about anything. There's still a couple of tricks it needs to learn. Still a couple of books I need to write. But I have thrown together basic materials for playing in the world of Britannia. Most of the ingredients were already there, and it is... and I had a chance to run that for the Wednesday night group for a while. Over the past couple years. And it's still a game that we mean to get back to. It just, got up to a point and I needed a break, and then other games came in and there's a cycle. But Andrew got to play in Britannia. And wants to go back. They all want to go back. I want to go back. The amount of synchronicity there is kind of remarkable. That on this day, I can mourn the loss of a friend, celebrate my son coming of age. He's got some work to do, but I'm proud of the man that he's become. And look to my son walking in a world created by my departed friend. Brian put his heart and soul into Britannia. The characters and the world and the mechanics of how everything operated, it was beautiful. It is beautiful. This is one of the reasons I role play. This is one of the reasons I do what I do as a player, as a game master, as a designer, as a writer. I've got worlds up here, and if I did not write them down, if I did not share them, everything in here will go away when I pass away. And there's no telling when that's going to happen. Every day I'm alive at this point in time is another gift from the universe for which I am grateful. But I have envisioned fantasy worlds and planets of technology, and I have walked in other people's worlds of magic and science, and I have gotten a piece of that real estate in my head and picked it up and carried it someplace else. Stories and people and worlds, and without some way of conveying these things to other people, of storing them in a way that other people can see and read. Oh, I have seen things. I have seen archmages in overclocked battle suits rendering forests to deserts. I have seen starships burning off the belt of Orion. And save for the format and medium of role-playing games, all of these things would be lost to time like teardrops in the rain. Brian loved Blade Runner. Cyberpunk fan, so of course he did. But I can take that world that my friend graced me with, that he shared with me, and I can walk people around it. I can let them kick the tires and have adventures and tell their own stories of what happens in that world. Not my stories of what happens there, our stories of what happens there. The situations I lay down and the actions they take as a result, their heroism, their successes and failures. Being able to walk Brian's mother through that place before she too passed a little while later was a gift. Being able to take my son there so that he and I have adventured in the same world. Not a world that I initially created. Not a world that I'm going to take credit for. That's going to have Brian's name on it when I publish it. The man has left us. The worlds that he created is not. And if those get written down, have some pictures drawn, people make up characters and run around and roll dice and laugh as they blow stuff up in it, then that part of Brian doesn't pass. That will always be here. For as long as those stories are not only told, but created. The stories that I tell, the worlds that I do create, the backgrounds and the settings, and the fantasy lands and the planets and the societies, my undershot dystopian future, those all have a piece of me. Those are worlds I've created up here. Those are things that were only in my imagination, and now they are out there. And some of you have walked in them, and more of you may. There's a link to my products down below. Plug. And you know, even when I had the cancer and things were very bad and it looked like I might not be here to make this recording on this day, I was still going to be here in some way, shape, or form. To the memory of my friend Brian Sullivan, I miss you. And I hope I do justice to the worlds you gifted me with. It does not seem like it has been 20 years since you passed. Sorry. To my son Andrew, I am not ready for you to be 18. I'm not ready for you to graduate, and that is because it is all a mark of my progressing mortality. That's my fear. And it doesn't matter if I'm ready for you to be there yet. You're ready. You've got a better head on your shoulders than I ever did at your age. You have a clear path forward. You have so many choices to make. And I need you to remember that in your life, with everything open in front of you, you are not surrounded. You are in a target-rich environment. You have 100 different steps you could take from here. And the only wrong move to make is not to move at all. Ever forward. Momentum. Happy birthday. This has been personal and I have cried. Thank you for following along with this. Let me know what you think of the format. The camera work, the audio, how it all works out. Let me know if you'd like to hear more about any of the subjects I've talked about. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you would like to hear me talk about the other things that Brian did, or more details about Britannia, or any stuff like, if there's anything you'd like to hear me talk about, any subjects you'd like me to cover, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You will love leaving me a comment. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, hit the little notification bell next to the subscribe button so that you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to support the channel in a more substantial fashion, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Happy birthday, Andrew. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.